Get ready for an evening that you will never forget, the 9th Annual Champions of Jewish Values International Awards Gala. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce two of our co-hosts this evening. Globally celebrated mega philanthropist Robert Smith, who also serves as the chairman of Carnegie Hall, along with Sir Clive Gillinson, the CEO and artistic director of Carnegie Hall and one of our organization's closest friends. To everyone who also participated to make this evening possible, God bless you. Robert Smith, please take it away.
Good evening. I'd first like to thank Rabbi Shmuley Motea and the World Values Network, along with my co-host and our speakers this evening, Dr. Oz, Bob Green. On January 6th, we saw a new manifestation of the old alliance for civil rights between American Jews and African Americans, when the pastor from Dr. King's church and the descendant of Jewish immigrants who fled pogroms were elected both to the United States Senate in Georgia. But that same day in Washington, insurrectionists wielding Confederate flags and wearing shirts that glorified Auschwitz stormed the U.S. Capitol. It was a reminder that our shared journey for justice is far from finished. There was another crisis that same day that you might not have seen on the news: staggering economic injustice. Here's just one statistic. The net worth of an average Black family is just 1/10 that of the average white family. That's homes, college funds, savings for emergencies, and nest eggs that make the difference between giving your kids a leg up in life or trapping them in generational poverty. The racial wealth gap should shock us as much as seeing a Confederate flag in the halls of Congress, but it should not surprise us. The struggle for economic justice has been bound up with the struggle for civil rights. So today I want to celebrate the history of shared experience and common purpose uniting the Jewish American community and the Black American community. But I also want to challenge us to see where we have fallen short and to recognize our unfinished business. As the poet Amanda Gorman said at the inauguration, being American is more than a pride we inherit, it's the past we step into and how we repair it. I've always admired the Jewish value of tikkun olam. Repairing the world is what we have to do together. President Obama has called the heroes who marched and boycotted and bled in civil rights in the 1950s and 60s the Moses generation. He said it's up to us, the Joshua generation, to finish the journey. This resonates with me because I grew up hearing from my mother about how she drove my brother and I some 1,700 miles from Denver to Washington, D.C. to hear Dr. King speak at the Lincoln Memorial in 1963. And it was my responsibility to carry on his dream. We also heard that day from Rabbi Joachim Prince, part of the coalition of Jews and Blacks that helped produce the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I love the Jewish tradition of retelling the Exodus story every year at Passover, so every generation learns to identify with those who are still in bondage and those who are still seeking freedom. And make no mistake, here in the land of the free, Black Americans are still seeking not just political rights and civil rights, but also economic justice. Because as Dr. King once asked, what does it profit a man to be able to eat at an integrated lunch counter if he doesn't have enough money to buy a hamburger? The fact is, today's inequalities in jobs, wages, and income and wealth are as severe as they were in 1950. The wages of Black workers are only 75% of those of white workers, not in 1968, today. Poverty rates for African Americans are more than twice that of white Americans, today. These are the effects of accumulated inequity and the compounding wages of discrimination. For centuries now, the structural racism has kept Black Americans from participating in the capital part of capitalism. There are 4,700 banks in the US, but only 21 are Black owned. They hold less than 1% of America's total commercial banking assets. 70% of African American communities lack even a single bank branch. That means families can't get mortgages to buy a house, entrepreneurs can't get loans to start a new business, and small businesses can't get the capital they need to grow and to hire. The Jewish community has been an ally in the Black community's journey for social justice. But now it's time to take the next step and focus on the economic justice that has so long been lacking. We should face up to an uncomfortable fact. There were never enough Julius Rosenwalds, the founder of Sears, who funded thousands of schools and colleges for Black Americans. Never enough economic engagement from the community, business community, to match the spiritual and political engagement we rightly celebrate. Now's the time to change that. What is called for today is a massive and sustained investment in African American communities battered by the pandemic and ravaged by racism. I'm talking about building engines of wealth creation that can power real opportunity and eventually real equality. We need to think systemically because systemic oppression demands systemic investment. I'm coordinating leaders across industries to develop what we're calling the 2% solution. We're calling it reparative capital. And here's how it works. Every year, the average American family gives 2% of their income to charity. So I'm asking corporations to do the same, only instead of charity, I'm asking them to invest 2% of their net income in the economic infrastructure of Black communities. For instance, telecom and technology companies should invest 2% in the building out and connecting the last mile broadband to Black communities to enable distance learning for our children, telemedicine for our elderly, and digital enablement for our small businesses. Banks should invest 2% of their net income to modernize the banking infrastructure for Black communities and the businesses they serve. Bank of America has come up with an Equality Progress Sustainability Bond, which can enable the financing of all of these activities at a most de minimis rates. All companies, major corporations, and family businesses should deposit a minimum of 2% into Black-owned banks. If their money is going to sit in the bank, why not put it in a Black-owned bank? We're going to help spark the growth we sorely need. If just the top 10 banks in America signed on, they can invest over $20 billion over the next 10 years. That would mean historic investments in community banks, education, technology, and healthcare. It would mean Black families would have access to home loans, better schools, better nutrition, better healthcare, and better futures. This isn't altruism. Closing the racial wealth gap could increase GDP by up to 6%. Let me leave you with this tonight. For more than 50 years, my mother wrote a check every month for $25 to the United Negro College Fund. She believed we all have a responsibility, as it says in Isaiah, to be the repairers of the breach. That's what compelled her to drive two young sons across America to hear a reverend and a rabbi preach about civil rights. It's what we are called to do today. Like Dr. King, I refuse to believe, and I hope you do too, that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. Scripture tells us that justice is an eternal obligation. Let's accept it with joy. Thank you.